I want to show you quickly. When you go to the VSEPR, PR theory, what does this abbreviation stand for? Very important concept you must know. What? Say.
Valence electron.
Yes, say. Pair. Yeah. Repulsion theory. So, if you take water, for example, water is written this way. Okay? This is not the structure of water. Okay? Why? This lone pair is in a lobe. This lone pair is in a lobe. Okay? And the non-bonding lobes are big. They're big and always small. So there will be lone pair. This is a bond pair. Because I'm talking about, when I say bond pair, I'm referring to these electrons. I'm referring to those electrons. Maybe let me put it so that, let me elongate this bond so that you see it. This is bond pair, BP, not petroleum, British Petroleum Company. No. A lone pair, bond pair. So there will be a lone pair, bond pair repulsion. There will be a lone pair, bond pair repulsion. There will be a lone pair, a bond pair, lone pair, and so on. So the molecule ends up occupying like a Mickey Mouse. It ends up having these hydrogens this way, and then this lone pairs in here, and the other lone pairs on the other side, like a Mickey Mouse, to avoid repulsion. You take a tennis ball, a normal tennis ball, one lone pair will be on this on my side, the other lone pair on the other, and then the hydrogens will be facing down. That is there. Then you drop beryllium chloride. Beryllium chloride. We do this at first year, and I'm just showing you something quickly. You come to beryllium chloride, BeCl2. This, like water, is an AX2 molecule. However, beryllium is in group 2. It has no lone other than this. Beryllium does not have empty orbitals and so on. So the two chlorines will prefer to be on the opposite side. This becomes linear. You come to ammonia, NH3. Because of that, the lone pair electrons here, they make sure that one hydrogen goes there, the other one towards you, and the other hydrogen on the opposite side. Like if you take your 3 fingers, the thumb, the pointing finger, and so on, you point them down, the lone pair will be like your arm. That way. Then you come to boron. The reason why I'm coming here, I'm trying to deliver a message. Boron, aluminium, and all metals, they've got an MTP orbital. Boron has got an MTP orbital. We've got boron BH3. We've got BH, BCl3. BCl, Cl, Cl, or fluorine. Doesn't matter, but the halogen. And then we've got that. This is boron hydride, and then this is boron trichloride. This is acidic. However, this is non-acidic. What do you think is the reason? What makes boron chloride is the boron in both cases has got MTP orbital to accept a pair of electrons. However, boron chloride, trichloride is more acidic than the other one. And that logic doesn't need you to go to think of honors. It's just a first year logic. Why do you think boron trichloride is more acidic than boron hydride? I cannot hear you clearly. Repeat yourself, sir.
Sorry. The chlorine atoms, they pull the electron density away from the boron, which makes them...
Hydrogen. Perfect. Hydrogen is neither pulling nor donating. We agree?
Yes.
So the electronegativity is a very important concept in chemistry. So these chlorine atoms are pulling electrons away from boron. That's why when you do most of the reactions you are doing, this can be a Lewis acid. So whenever you have a boron or aluminium and so on, they're in the same group, or any metal, ion and so on, they've got an empty orbital into which you can accommodate a pair of electrons. But the logic is that if you are given these three molecules, this is common, this is common. The difference is this. Then what is the difference between hydrogen and chlorine? They only differ in electronegativity. So then, what will that difference make? The chlorines are pulling electron away from boron, making it more electron poor, making this lobe more empty. Hydrogen, it just remains that way. Are we together?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
Let me take one. I'm not sure if I'm going to write this correctly. There was one example. I think it was written this way. I remember, if I remember. I don't like repeating things in the assignment. You know, whether it's 5 members or whatever, I don't remember. But there was the following. No. It was written. I think it was written this way. Yeah, you remember this? It's from assignment. I think assignment 1 or so.
Yes.
Again, resonance effect plays a role. Important role. All along I showed you resonance structures where we're moving pi electrons first. If we have a combination of movable electrons, which ones are movable in this molecule? Which ones are movable electrons?
The lone pair on nitrogen.
The lone pair? And which ones? And which ones?
The ones on the carbon-carbon double bond.
No, you don't tell. I want the type. I don't want description.
The pi bond.
The pi electrons.
The
Pi
pi.
electron.
Pi electrons. Simple like that. Simple logic. The pi electrons belong to this carbon and that carbon. We agree? The lone electrons belong to nitrogen. Simple logic. Which one do you think can easily move, will move faster than the other?
The lone pair on nitrogen.
Why? I agree with you. Okay, let me give you a scenario like this. A couple that is married and a person who's single, not married, who can easily move quick anywhere he wants to.
The single.
Why? Because he's only by himself. Whereas the other one, before you move, you might have to negotiate with the other partner to say I'm moving. And as you negotiate, you are delaying, right or wrong? Because there might be a time where you have to negotiate, go back until. So which electrons will move faster if you have a combination of lone pair and pi electrons on the same molecule?
Lone pairs.
The lone pair will be the one to make a move. The lone pair will be the one to make a move. They can only move to here. You see that? They can only move to there, and then they will change these ones over to this carbon. So you have, I don't think the example I'm giving is the correct one, but it's similar. You know, you'll see that. Then you'll have negative charge. I don't think it has something here. It did not have that, but anyway, let me put, because we had to add CH3 there, if I remember well. So you'll have this, and this time around you form the double bond. What must happen to N? N had lone pair here. It no longer has them. What must be on N then?
Positive charge.
Positive charge. Colleagues, let me tell you about one secret about chemistry. Just a simple secret about chemistry, which you know. What do we call this molecule? What do we call this molecule? I've written it, you can see. Water molecule. What do you call this molecule?
Ammonia.
What do you call this molecule?
Carbon dioxide.
What do you call this molecule?
Carbon monoxide.
Carbon monoxide.
Sometimes you can put negative, you can put positive, the net charge is 0. Any atom, you must listen carefully. This related to alcohols, phenols, and partly carboxylic acid, or ether and carboxylic acid. And any nitrogen containing group is based on ammonia. So as in all cases, if nitrogen has one lone pair, it remains neutral. If there are two, if there are two pairs on nitrogen, what will be the charge?
Negative charge.
Negative, because it has gained. If there's no lone pair, but that nitrogen has got octet state, what will be the charge?
Positive charge.
Positive. So when you do that, all nitrogen species are based on ammonia. All those which have got oxygen, they're either based on water or alcohols, or let me say on water because those are alcohols, or carboxylic acid like carbonyl compounds, or carbon monoxide as we go to other functional groups. So now, that is just what I wanted to show you, that you do that, you say as long as nitrogen does not have a lone pair, it's positive. You memorize that until you master it. But that's a fact. If oxygen does not have two lone pair electrons like in water, it must have a charge. Either more, if it's more than two, it's negative like in sodium hydroxide. For example, we have got water here. It has got two pairs, H. If there are more than two, like in sodium hydroxide, water must have negative charge. That is the way. If it's protonated, maybe it's protonated alcohol or something, and then there's only one pair, there must be a positive charge, like that. And the same with nitrogen and so on. But I want to come back to what I was drawing there. It's one of the exercises we had in your assignment. One of the exercises we had in your assignment. You needed to write something like this. For example, if you have, these are the resonance structure, and if you have CH3I, slightly negative, slightly positive on carbon, so this can attack them. Okay? Then you'll get your CH3 there. You do another resonance, another CH3 can be added. Or you bring back these electrons. When you bring them back, this nitrogen can also attack, because it has lone pair electrons anyway. When those electrons come back, this can use them. That's why I say resonance structures are important. But tell me where you experience problems with organic chemistry before we stop. There's still tomorrow. Where do you experience problems with organic chemistry?
The rearrangement reaction.
What?
The rearrangement reaction. Rearrangement
reactions against that based on that. What we are talking about with rearrangement reactions, basically, they are very simple. We are talking about never group participation. Like, for example, if we give a molecule, we say it's 6-membered ring, you must always know that you must write it in chair conformation. In chair conformation like that. So, and then there's axial proton, there's equatorial, there's axial, there's equatorial, and so on. And so on. You must practice how to write this, how to draw those. So those reactions are very simple. Like, I don't know which ones you are referring to when you say rearrangement per se, but I'm going to the one where the groups were moving like that. For example, we had an OA, let's say we've got an OH here, and then we've got a CL here, a CL. This is just like when you're doing remember this bond. If you take this bond, let me write it in black, this way. If you cut this molecule and you draw the staggered conformation, this is like that. It's just like a horse or so, whatever, but if you change that, depending on how you are writing them. So if CL is here, OH is there, they are antiperiplanar, then that's SN2. But rearrangement reactions that you do not understand in that case is because you did not write the structures correctly. I know there was one rearrangement compound where we had not even rearrangement. I think it was this way. It was an alkane, and then something here, there was OTS. Where was it? Yeah, OTS, something like that. The pi electrons, these pi electrons, maybe it's good to write them correctly in such a way that you can easily see them. Okay? These pi electrons are tagged there, and then that went off, and so on and so on. I can only do it if I remember the correct example. But it will rearrange such a molecule. Are you referring to that? You will do a few of them tomorrow. But for now, I want you about the basics. I've covered alkenes. I've covered, can you switch off, mute that? I've covered periodic table. I showed you what the meaning of those arrows are, the importance of Lewis structures. What a bond means, that a bond is 2 electrons, that you must write, what you do on the left will show on the right. If it's many steps, your first left hand is the first step for the second. The second step is the first step for this. You don't look far back, you look to the nearest step, you go forward. And I told you about the importance of factors that affect chemical reactivity. I said one is steric and the other one is what?
Electronic effect.
And which ones are electronic? There are 2 types. Which one and which one?
Inductive and resonance.
Resonance and
Which one operates through the pi bond?
Resonance.
Which one operates through that? Which one operates through the sigma bond and involves electronegativity?
The inductive.
Inductive effect. When both of them operate, whether they complement each other, which means they are favoring the same effect, or they oppose each other, which one dominates?
Resonance.
Resonance.
Why? I said if you draw the resonance structures, there will be one resonance structure where all atoms are in noble gas configuration. That is the most important resonance structure. It is the most important, that is the one that determines the next step. And I taught you about resonance effect, just drawing how to draw resonances. And I told you can predict the outcome of the reaction. And I showed you why we're saying alkyl groups are donating. They are donating because there's a pool. And if one carbon is charged, it is more electronegative, it's positively charged. It's more electronegative than a neutral carbon. If it's negatively charged, it's less electronegative than a neutral carbon. Does not want more electrons anymore. And we talked about acid-base theories. I said to you, you must know what an acid is. So it's a proton donor when it reacts with a base. And you also have Lewis acids like boron, trichloride, aluminum chloride. What makes boron an electron acceptor? What makes boron an electron acceptor?
the MTP orbitals.
What?
The MTP.
The MTP orbitals.
Correct. It has a vacant orbital to accommodate those electrons and become negatively charged. It is the only situation where we have a negative charge without electrons, because those electrons are already in a room. The boron takes a charge, but you can't see those electrons. They're in a bond. Or aluminum. All metals are Lewis, they've got empty orbitals, either P, D, or F orbitals. But they've got an empty orbital, additional empty orbital to accommodate electrons. And then I taught you about one thing, that start the resonances in the ground state. I showed you why there's importance of resonance in the ground state, because they can show you how you react. For example, if you have a carboxylic acid, I can tell you that that oxygen attached to OH is positively charged. But how do I see it? After resonance. Excused. And then the one with the carbonyl is negative when you write the resonances, like in a ketone or aldehyde. And I showed you why the beta carbon or beta hydrogens are not acidic, because they are far away from the carbonyl group, and you cannot have resonance structures. And I can also strengthen that by writing the resonance structures of the conjugate base, and tell you that the more the resonance structures in the conjugate base, the more acidic is the acid from which it's derived. What else did I say? Nothing. Are we not all tired? Or you want some more? Tell me you want some more. Talk to me. Talk to me. You can't fear me. I can't even see you. The camera is off. But I remember seeing Kayale too.
Are we going to have
common
is this
Hello?
Tomorrow's class, the only one we're going to have after this, or we're going to have another one, others after that?
Through popular demand, through popular demand. If you feel that they're enough, tomorrow we stop. If you need some more, I'm there for you. And I really regret it. I should have started. We should have started long ago, but I forced to come to the university for this because I can't do it on Teams and lose you. I needed a board. We can do more.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, okay.
We can do more.
Then more. I think more would be great.
I'll do more. That's fine. I can see you're enticing me for more. But what I want you to do, go back, guys. Just repeat. Let me tell you about a few things that I'm not going to write. I'll talk about them and I'll talk quickly. You bullet them. Number 1, number 2, number 3. First of all, it's Lewis structure. You know what Lewis structure is. You know you must write everything. The second thing is bond polarity. Polarity. And for bond polarity has got to do with electronegativity. Bond polarity and electronegativity go hand in hand. And then formal charges, guys. When I say charges, if you write the Lewis structure and you retain the electrons, you look at what has happened, you can't make a mistake. You left the correct formal charges. And then comes in steric factors, inductive effect, and resonance effect. And after those, in fact, not after those, within those, you must know that resonance effect predominates. And I told you that the most important thing you must notice is that atoms react to attain a noble gas configuration. They either lose or gain electrons to be in noble gas state. And then the next thing you must understand is the meaning of those arrows. The curved arrows, they have a lot of language within themselves. They've got a lot of meaning. They talk. The single-headed arrow illustrates movement of one electron. The line is the movement. The head is an electron. If it's full-headed or double-headed, it means 2 electrons. And then the next thing you need to know is intermediates, carbocation, carbanion, free radicals. And you are lucky you are not doing, there are many others, carbines, nitrines, and so on. But I restrict you to these 3 because the others you can read at higher level. Carbocation, carbanions, and free radicals. They are stabilized by inductive or resonance effect. All of them, inductive or resonance effect or a combination of both. Let me repeat. Lewis structures, bond polarity and electronegativity, and I said formal charges, ensuring that their charges were possible. And I said steric factors and electronic factors. Under electronic, you have inductive and resonance effect. And I said resonance effect always predominates. And enclose your resonance structures in square brackets. They talk in square brackets because they're the same, or they mean the same, they're equivalent. And then acid-base theories, I told you. What more do you want to know? What do you want us to discuss tomorrow? Please, I say to you, if you go back to your assignments, I've answered several questions there. I showed you which either proton, whether it's alpha or beta or alpha, which one is going to be taken up, which is going to be abstracted. The one between 2 electron withdrawing groups by inductive or resonance effect is more acidic. And those groups will stabilize the conjugate base.
Tomorrow, can I ask to do the organoboron reactions?
I've already done them.
Okay.
Let me tell you what I've done already. What you needed is just to know that boron has got an empty orbital, and the other atoms, these bonds can be broken. As it accepts the electrons, you can break the others. We'll do those quickly, but I think the problem which you have yourself in this case, and all of you, is because when you're doing Friedel-Crafts reactions, you are not listening. When you're doing Friedel-Crafts reactions like CH3, X, you have CH3, CO, X can be chlorine or there. And then you're adding aluminum chloride, you're adding iron chloride and so on. The same with you're adding aluminum chloride. Remember, aluminum chloride is like boron chloride. They are more or less similar with boron chloride. All of them have got an empty lobe. And then you are also having iron chloride, trichloride and so on. All of them, you just need a pair of electrons to come here, a pair of electrons to come there, and so on and so on. So it's the same with boron. As long as you have got an electron donating species, a pair of electrons from another species, they will go into the boron empty bond. They will go into here, and we take it from there. We can do those. Next topic. No, but I just want you to not to wait for me. You must go and read about them. You needed to know that there's that empty orbital. And I said to you, another thing that I emphasize so that you are on the safe side is that whenever you write a carbocation, put this empty orbital. You see what I mean? You'll notice when you come to organosilicon compounds, you probably received all your test assignments for today. I'm not sure, yesterday. I've marked them, and I checked where your problem is. Then somewhere where we had the silicon, I think silicon like this. And then there's an empty, no, it was not even alpha, yes, beta effect. So if silicon is a functional group, this will be alpha, this will be beta. So silicon, you must know that the carbon-silicon bond, is longer. It's much not longer in terms of something you can imagine, see with your eyes. It's longer than the carbon phosphorus or carbon sulfur bond. So if you have got the carbon silicon bond like that, this silicon will move over to interact with that. We call that beta effect. We call it beta effect. So it stabilizes the positive charge on the carbocation at the beta side. That is the Petersen reaction. Simply quickly to show you something, all right, before I stop, it's because I really feel guilty, but we're all hiding. We're all in hiding, we're just resurfacing now. Even the scientists. Okay, you have got, let's say you have got phosphorus. And then these are the spinel groups. I'm just writing them like that. This is phosphorus. What you need to know is in which group in the periodic table is phosphorus. Phosphorus is below nitrogen. You agree?
Yeah.
So it's a one lone pair. Sulfur is below oxygen. So which means sulfur will have two lone pairs, like oxygen in water. So you have a methyl iodide. You have methyl iodide or methyl bromide. Remember, this is slightly negative. The carbon is slightly positive because here they differ in electronegativity. Halogens are more electronegative than carbon. I remember at one stage I asked you which bond is polar. And you told me that the polar bond was this one here, which you are correct. The reason why the polar bond in the case of alcohols is not C is because carbon and oxygen are close by. The electronegativity does not differ much. Unless you hybridize the carbon to sp2 and so on. They don't differ much, or you protonate oxygen. So now this phosphorus will attack from the back. How many electrons are taking CH3? How many electrons are taking CH3 here?
Two.
Tell me. How many electrons are taking CH3?
Two electrons.
What? I mean, guys, if you understood what we're doing all along, I said there's a language in the table. Two. And anyway, there are two. I've written them. There are two. Where did you want to see the answer, obtain the answer from? This arrow itself means 2 electrons. I just wanted you to say that. To be familiar with the style and pattern of behavior of chemistry. And these 2 electrons will come to C. And then what we are releasing is, first I'll write Cl negative in a second. Then I revisit my other structure. I'll write it there below. I'll say P, 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 and then CH2. I'm just pressing this H for interest sake. We had a lone pair on phosphorus here. You agree? We had a lone pair on phosphorus there. We had this lone pair on phosphorus. It's no longer there on the right hand side. It has formed the bond. What do you expect to see on P?
Positive charge.
Positive charge. Those are the things you must think about when you write mechanism. Now this P is positively charged, which means it's electron poor, highly electron withdrawing. So it will pull electrons away from this carbon. You agree?
Yes.
Yes.
This carbon will pull electrons away from what? That carbon must pull also from where?
Hydrogen.
So rendering hydrogen electron poor. What do you call an electron poor hydrogen?
Proton.
What chemical property does it exhibit? Acidic. You agree?
Acidic.
If you add a base, it will abstract it, and these 2 electrons goes to there. Then we have got CH2, 2 lone pairs, negative charge, P. P is still plus. You see that? Adjacent opposite charges. What do you call this species with adjacent opposite charges?
Violet.
Elite. What is Violet? Elite. Elite. So you have got a center which is electron poor, a center which is electron rich. They must help each other. So this electron rich one will bring electrons here. This is resonance. And then you have CH2, double bond, P, all those phenyl groups. These are resonance stabilizers. It's an elite, not wildlife. Elite. Elite. There's German, there's Russian, there's everything. Wildlife. What is that? Elite. Negative like that. So what is an elite? It's not a molecule, by the way, because it's not a molecule. You cannot carry it. You generate it and it reacts there. So it's a chemical species with adjacent opposite charges, and it's resonance stabilized and it's neutral. Did you hear what I'm saying? It's a species with adjacent opposite charges. It's resonance stabilized, square bracket, and it's neutral because it has got a 0 charge, net charge. Those are the elites of phosphorus. And these elites of phosphorus, they are generated from a primary alkyl halide. I had written, remember I removed primary, not secondary, primary. This is very bulky molecule. This molecule is big, by the way. We're talking about a molecule with benzene ring, and then benzene ring, and then benzene ring, and lone pair. So it can only react with primary alkyl halide. Primary alkyl halide. We don't care about there must be CH2 here. There must be CH2. So it's a primary alkyl halide. And then to generate a positive charge on carbon, on phosphorus, highly electron withdrawing, and then it makes the alpha hydrogen highly acidic. So why are we saying the alpha hydrogens are highly acidic? Let's look at the conjugate base. This is a conjugate base, resonance stabilized. So which means the parent acid, this was acidic, from which these are derived, is more acidic because it's resonance stabilized. The more the resonance structure, the more stable the species. And then when you react it with the carbonyl group, ketone or aldehyde, remember the ketones and aldehydes are planar. They are flat. They are flat. They are planar like this. You have got your carbon at the center, your oxygen, and then like this, like a table. They are flat. So this can attack either at the bottom or the top. If it attacks at the bottom, like it has done here, it means oxygen must go up. So what is going to happen is that the oxygen will have to go up, And these bonds must accommodate that. It will be something like P. The P plus comes here, and then those O3. So we wanted to form what we call a beta-ene. This is a beta-ene. A beta-ene is a zeta ion or a species with charges that with opposite charges that are not adjacent. This is a beta-ene or a zeta ion. A zeta ion differs from an elite in the sense that in the case of the elite, the opposite charges are on adjacent atoms. So when you go further here, so for this, there must be a rotation. Did I write this correctly? No, I'm missing a CH2, sorry. There's a CH2 missing. There's a CH2 missing there, and then P final, 3 final rings. So there must be a bond rotation here to align. It's still the same, it's not a reaction, it's just the same thing. So to align oxygen and phosphorus, like this, P plus, and then those 3 final groups. And then we've got this bond like that. So this is a beta-ene. It undergoes bond rotation, we end up with this negative here, negative charge. So this oxygen, remember one thing you must know. You must know is oxygen has got, phosphorus has got a high affinity for oxygen. Phosphorus has got a high affinity for oxygen. I hope you have written it. That's why it attacks the oxygen, and then we are forming what we call an oxophosphorcyclobutane. You don't have to know that name, but it's just a cyclic compound. And then see like that. So what the driving force for this reaction? The driving force is formation of a carbon phosphorus double bond. That is what drives this reaction to release an alkene. Then we're going to have a phosphonium ion where we have got the oxygen P double bond. This is the driving force, and we are releasing an alkene. An alkene. So this is the Wittig reaction. This Wittig reaction involves reaction of an elite. An elite. You have to know what an elite is. And a carbonyl compound to generate an alkene and a phosphonium, that triphenyl phosphonium salt. The advantage with this method is that unlike elimination reaction where you react an alkyl halide with a base or an alcohol and then generate a double bond, this one you know where the position of the double bond will be. It replaces the carbon-oxygen double bond. And then we've got the Warner-Wadsworth-Emmons. That's where many of you did not read. You just copy from somewhere, you don't know from where. The Warner-Emmons-Wadsworth method, organophosphorus compound. Those ones are generated from triphenyl, they're generated from the OR. Where R is alkyl or RI. It can be phenyl. So here now you have got oxygens. These are what is going to happen when you react. Again, you react them with primary alkyl halide. The same method like the Wittig one. So this phosphorus will attack there, and then the X will go out. The X will go out. The next step is that you are forming a bond between P and R. So you will have R, P, O, R. I must put the other one as R prime so that you can see the difference R in R. And then you've got O. Let's say O is, I will just put R, and then I put R, like that. Plus X, negative. And then you have a positive charge there. But in this case, what happens is that the X attacks R, and then you form this. Then you're going to have, let's say you've got CH3, you have PO, then you have O, you have O, you have R, you have R there. You see, that's what you're going to get. Again here now, this time around, the phosphorus here is not charged. It's not an elite. It's a carbanion. Here, it's not an elite. If you add a base, you're going to have CH2, PO, OR, OR. This one, although it's resonance stabilized because you can move the electrons there. It's not an elite. It's a carbanion. That's why these are more reactive than elites. Remember, in elite it's neutral. P3. You have a plus charge, you have a negative charge. So it's neutral because you can do resonance. However, this one is negative. The net charge is -1. So it is more neutrophilic than the elite. But they behave the same way. They react the same way. The only thing they differ is stereochemistry there and there. We have what we call erythro and trio isomers and so on. That's what I was expecting in your stereochemistry and so on. But that is beside the point. You just showed resonance, elites in both cases. No. The one I want at Emon's reaction involves phosphonates. It involves phosphonates. And then from that you can have organosulfur to form epoxide, you can have organosilicon to form alkenes again. So I'm reducing my scope for tomorrow so that we can do spectroscopy tomorrow. No, we'll have a room for spectroscopy. Tomorrow there's less we're going to cover in terms of reactions. I've covered quite a lot today. I've covered quite a lot. But I think what I want to do tomorrow will be the batch reduction. Remember the batch reduction, where you are using sodium and so on, and then ultimately you are reducing a benzene ring. And I'll do that along with mass spectroscopy so that you can see the importance of those single-headed arrows, how they move. So basically what I'm saying, we have to stop. I'm also tired. And remember, this is log level 1. All places are open until 5 o'clock. From Monday to Friday, unless I go to the other places in the evening. That's where I belong. Let's come to this one, okay? If you have a molecule like this, and basically, before we come to organic chemistry, you have a sodium metal. Sodium, all metals, they're shiny. And sodium has got one electron there. If you dissolve sodium in ammonia, in liquid ammonia, not ammonia solution, liquid ammonia, there's a difference between aqueous ammonia, which is NH3, and liquid ammonia, and ammonia gas. This is a gas, ammonia gas, NH3G. You generate it using, it's easy to generate it, but under closed apparatus. It's a gas, and then you cool it to -60 degrees with liquid nitrogen, it becomes a liquid. Whereas the aqueous one, it is mixed with water. This you can purchase. The other one you generate. You can buy it, but they don't transport it that much. It's very rare you can get liquid ammonia. You must prepare it also, because from the gas. So if you dissolve sodium in liquid ammonia, it will form Na+, okay? Plus, and release this electron like that. I'll put this electron in square bracket, and this electron, including that one there, they become surrounded by ammonia. They become surrounded by ammonia. They don't pair electrons on ammonia. This thing, okay. They don't form a bond, but they interact with that force and stabilize it. And this ammonia now will solvate. We say solvate ammonia, liquid ammonia. It solvates. I've turned down the end. It solvates this electron, and the reaction usually will find the color is, if you pour a benzophenol, it becomes blue, nice color. So this is an electron. Which arrow are you going to use for the movement of this electron?
Single head.
What? Not single head. What did you say? Single head arrow, yes. So let's say we've got CH3. Yeah. Okay? Let me rewrite this ring. I want to show you something. It didn't matter how the way I've written it anyway. Okay, I write it this way. This single electron will move. Okay, it's moving. The thing you need to know is that a free radical is a carbon species with how many electrons around itself? A free radical.
7.
7.
7 electrons.
It has got 3 bonding electrons and 1 non-bonding electron. We agree? How many electrons does it want to be in noble gas configuration? How many?
1.
How many electrons does it want to be in noble gas configuration?
Oh, 1
This
more.
free radical. 1 more. So it's a radical, a free radical electron rich or electron deficient.
Deficient.
How many? How many electrons deficient?
1 electron deficient.
1. So what type of groups, let's say groups, will stabilize it? Is it electron donating or withdrawing? Remember it has 7 electrons and it needs to go towards 8. Which groups will stabilize it?
Donating groups.
Donating groups, electron donating groups will increase the electron density around it. It's not a unit that you can say you are adding 1 electron. It's a density, a cloud. A certain portion of electrons will be pushed towards that, making it less electron poor. So let's take CH3. Is it electron donating or withdrawing? You did it after carbocations, you did it. Donating. So if this is donating, and then we're going to have a carbanion center and a free radical. Where will you put the free radical? Between carbon 1 and 2, where will you put the free radical?
1.
So that it is stabilized. On 1, why?
Because of that
Agree with why on 1?
electron. Because it has an electron donating group.
Donating group. So that is where this electron will go. This electron will come here, single head, and these 2 electrons will come here. So what we are going to get here, will be that benzene ring. I've not done anything here. I've brought a lone electron, there's still CH3, and then there is this. You see that? So the carbanion center has gone to carbon number 2. The free radical on carbon number 1. Let's look at a scenario where, another scenario which is not going to happen, but anyway I want to show you. The scenario which is not happening is, if we take the radical to 2 and the carbanion center to number 1, that will be this situation. So number B versus number A. In number A, the free radical is adjacent. It's on the carbon adjacent electron donating group. It's here. It's on the free radical center is here. It's stabilized by electron donation. On the other hand, electron donation, when it comes to carbanion, electron donating group destabilize the carbanion. So this is unfortunately an unfavorable situation. You cannot have a carbanion center on the same carbon as an electron donating group. You see that? Are we together? So you must,
Yes.
the free radical must be where, and then if we have an electron withdrawing group, let me write in green, an electron withdrawing group G, oh it's not writing in green, sorry. If we have an electron withdrawing G, and then I put this, like before, I say 1, 2, where will you put the free radical center? I'm referring to carbon 1 and 2. Where will you put the radical center and where will you put the carbanion center? On which carbon? The answer is on the board, nowhere else. Fine. You remember I said to you, what you did at first year is more important than what you are doing now. We did these things at first year in university, I know. You need to know which factor stabilizes the carbanion. Carbanion is already in the noble gas state. If you exceed noble gas, you are destabilizing it. You can't pump electrons on a carbanion. It's already electron rich. So where will you put the carbanion center?
On the least substituted side.
There's no least substitute. We're talking about an aromatic ring. There's no. You tell me carbon 1 or 2.
Or carbon 2.
I won't put a carbanion center on 2. It can electron withdrawing group stabilize the carbanion. I should not be teaching these guys. This is first year chemistry. The only difference is that we brought in sodium and 1 electron. That's first year chemistry. But in a complex, in a big way. Maybe let me put it that way. And what you should notice here, you should have asked me, we used a single-headed arrow for the movement of this electron. We agree. But we use a double-headed arrow here for the movement of these 2 electrons to form that. And then from there, it depends on you. You can either form a resonance here, and then this electron comes here, you form a double bond, and this one comes, and so on until you have something here. This one goes there, and this one comes here, and then you generate a radical here, and then that radical reacts with another electron to form a carbanion, and so on and so on. But if you have electron withdrawal, I said to you, you can't put a carbanion center here, because it is already in noble gas configuration. You are exceeding it by pumping in more electron density. That's why this is not allowed. The allowed one is this one here. The allowed combination is this. You must do it on those exercises. I think it's the last assignment, if not assignment 2. That's the combination. No, it was assignment 2. Or even 3, I don't remember. Again here, it's first year chemistry, second year chemistry, aromatic compounds, but at honors level. You must remember what type of arrows you are going to use, which factors stabilize a carbanion or a carbocation. Tomorrow, well, I'm concluding. Tomorrow I'll show you again the movements of these things. The use of these arrows in combination and in that thing. Because I want you to be able to revise even before we meet. So that the next session you are the ones who will be talking. We will have optimized our movie magic. You will be talking, I'll be observing. For example, let's say you have got a carbonyl compound. I'm just going to write it like this. Let's say R here, and then R prime. If you expose this to high heat in the mass spectrum, you knock off an electron. You knock off electron out of this molecule. And I said to you, you look at the molecule, there are 2 types of movable electrons, a pair, lone pair, and pi electrons. So when you do mass spectroscopy, is that 1 electron will be knocked off from a neutral molecule. But now, it depends on you, which one will be knocked off early. Obviously, the non-bonding one is the one that will be knocked off. Only one of them is knocked off. You see that? This is what you are going to get. And this is the molecular ion peak in mass spectroscopy. So when this electron comes to form a triple bond here, it must be met by another one. It can be met by a one from here, or the other one from this side. Only one. And when this one goes that way, the other one goes there. The other one goes to R, like that. So you are going to end up having a triple bond plus C, R prime. And you can also have triple bond versus. You can have triple bond C, R. These are 2 combinations you are going to have. And these are resonance stabilized by themselves. Remember, oxygen will pull electrons, and then you'll have a resonance structure. The same applies here. This oxygen can pull these bond pair electrons, you'll have a resonance structure. That's why these are intense. And then from here, you can lose carbon monoxide. It's a neutral molecule, a known molecule. So to lose carbon monoxide, I do not want to bring it to bring it to here. To lose carbon monoxide, I've got to erase this. What? Yeah. To lose carbon monoxide here, you must have a bond breakage. This carbon now you are using a full-headed arrow. Because you want this lone electron. It's a full, here we're using half, here we're using full-headed arrow. So you'll get that, and then you'll get R prime, R plus. There is R plus. And the other way around, if you lose carbon monoxide, for the other one, if you lose carbon monoxide, if you have to lose carbon monoxide, you'll have R plus. Minus R prime plus. Minus carbon monoxide. So mass spectroscopy, again when you come to, I'll still revisit this. When you come to mass spectroscopy, there's a combination of carbocations and free radicals. When we did batch reduction, it's a combination of free radicals and carbanions. So that's where now you are no longer treating intermediates as separate. But the knowledge you acquired as first year when they are separate and you integrate it here, it makes articulation and then we get a story out of you. I'm stopping here, we can talk, no more chemistry. No. I'm simply saying I'm no longer going to the fort. We are just planning. I don't see any one of you, but feel free to talk. I'm asking the first question, be genuine and honest to me. Do you notice that you lack the basics? I'll wait for boom boom to pass. Do you notice that chemistry is simple, you just lack the basics? Yes or nya or yeah?
Yes.
Yes.
Hello?
Yes.
Did you pick up something that you can easily go and improve?
Yes.
Yes or no?
Yes. Yes.
Please go, don't read tomorrow. Today, go rest a bit. This evening, crack everything from your textbook. Don't go only to the assignment. Sometimes go to Alkene and look how simple these are. The thing, if you wanted to understand your mechanism, is that you must read the structure of alkene, structure and behavior, not all of that. Go to alkynes, the same. Go to alkyl halides, and then put bond polarity, then take it from there. Bond breakage, bond formation. If you start well, you'll always end up well, correctly. Imagine you put a coin in a jukebox, you jump before the music plays. There's no way we're going to laugh at you. One clap hands. When you clap hands, you think, oh, we're saying good. You're simply saying this idiot. You are not going to go according to the rhythm, the melody. Don't jump before. Take it cool. First step, first move. If it's correct, the second will be correct. The third will be correct. Wrong move, forget it. Throughout, you're going to be wrong. And the wrong move starts because you're not writing Lewis structures. And I've noticed your lecturers were weak organic chemists. I don't care whoever they are. I don't even know them. Because we meet at conferences, they don't know organic chemistry. They were just teaching because they wanted them. First, they were supposed to tell you the language of chemistry, insist on Lewis structures, insist on the meaning of those bond arrows, insist on the intermediates, insist on the resonance structures. I should not be battling here. But I'm sure you're going to make it. I've seen in the third assignment, though many were copying from previous solutions, but I've seen that there is a room for big improvement. That's why I intended these 2 days. And I know there are many who are not here. As we increase the sessions, they will be there and they'll listen. And tomorrow, prepare yourselves. The more you do it yourselves, the more you'll understand. I can write on the board. I can tell you everything. You still won't be able to do it. It's like when you teach a child a young child how to drive, a boy or a girl, how to drive a bike. Initially, he battles, turning, thinking he will fall. But the day he drives it well, he wakes up very early, 5 o'clock in the morning, he wants to drive it again. Because he has done it. So if you answer and you answer, as I go on, you'll understand. Don't be shy. I know all of you don't understand. But I'm here to make you understand. I taught you the approach. The approach is reasoning. Why? How? What? There are only 2 questions. What is the structure? How? Why? How is the arrows? Why this way? Why that, not that? Those are the only 2 questions you want. And don't be lazy to put those dots. It's fast. Your comments, guys. I've been talking for more than 3 hours, non-stop. Talk to me. Did you see the light, by the way, already? All right. Colleagues, I'm simply just talking. I'm almost done. I'm just enjoying talking to you. But I don't see you anymore. I was seeing your faces at some stage. I no longer see you. Kaya nature. You behave like a DJ. I saw you just touching everything as I was going. But and all of you, that's you. Yeah. All of you, I'm happy for your proactivity. Go read, talk like myself. Ask yourself why as you read, and you'll understand chemistry.